Yeah, yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by paying. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. For sure. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What up, ballers? Welcome to Basketball at the Bar. Join us live for the best NBA podcast here on YouTube, where the takes are hot and the drinks are cold. There's no dress code, and you can take us wherever you go. So pull up a stool, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe. This is Basketball at the Bar. Grab your drinks, and let's go. Calvin, it's officially NBA free agency. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to be breaking down all the deals today in the NBA surrounding free agency. And Calvin, we have a ton of stuff to talk about today. So if you are watching, please make sure to hit that like button down below. Please hit that subscribe button. And I also want to remind you all, we are giving away a $250 Fanatics gift card. All you need to do is click on the video posted on the homepage of this channel. Watch it. It's titled Fanatics Gift Card, and you can enter in to win. So Calvin, welcome in. It is Thursday, and it is officially free agency.
It is official.
It is.
There's a lot of money flying around right now.
Yeah, what's up, Jay Drew? Good to see you here in the chat. And yes, there is a lot of money flying around here. Calvin, there's so much stuff going on. Like, I don't even know where to start from. Do we just start on Woj's Twitter account and just scroll up from the bottom, or where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. You could start a lot of places. Most people are starting with the deal that hasn't actually been done yet, right? It's what's happening with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Where do they both end up next season? The Lakers have been very, very busy today. They've signed, maybe not like a franchise-changing player, but the message, I think, was clearly heard through the building. No more old guys. We want young players.
This is a relatively mild offseason for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, for now.
Last season they traded for Westbrook. They've traded for...
There's still potentially a Kyrie Irving trade coming, maybe even a Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant trade coming. So the Lakers are still the Lakers, but...
They are. What's up, Progressive G? Good to see you here in the chat. So, let's dive right into it. KD officially requests a trade from the Nets. And the interesting note here from Woj is the trade request goes directly to the owner. Not let me speak to your manager, but I'm going straight to the owner. Get me the hell out of here. The funny thing is, the first thing I said to you when we walked in is I was like, did he wait on Kyrie to request this trade? And you said...
Absolutely he did. Hell yeah.
I mean, that's the reason he went there,
Can you really blame him? Yeah, well, yes, but, just like in real life, relationships sour. You might want something at one point, and you get
Shit
into
changes.
it and realize that it wasn't the right decision, or that you're better off doing something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely the thought process that Kevin Durant has had over the past couple of weeks or months.
Kyrie, you wasted 3 years of my life. 3 years of my life. And now I want out. And where do I want to go? You want to go to a contender? I was talking to Pat about this when we were driving to Wailea today. And I was like, the only thing that KD could really, really want, like the only thing he could really want anymore is another ring, right? Like the dude has all the money in the world, not worried about money. But it's that like, and I kind of compared it to what Tom Brady did, right, in football, it's like the knock against Tom Brady was, oh, you can't win without Bill Belichick. You're a system quarterback or whatever. And I mean, maybe he is, maybe he's not, but he went to the Bucs, won a title his first year. Now everyone's like, oh yeah, he's definitely the GOAT. Like there's nothing you could say against him. similar thing with KD, right? Where he goes, wins all the rings with Golden State. Then his thing was like, I need to win a ring without the Warriors because everyone discounts all his rings, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone, but most people, he earned them, but they were the easy route or whatever. So for me, that makes it to where you can cross off like 70% of the teams in the league, right? Like KD's not going there because he needs to win a ring.
And the other side of that is, how is it any different if he decides, I'm going to the Lakers this time, or I'm going to the Suns, or I'm going to Miami, and he wins a championship with that team? Like, how is that any different than going to the Golden State Warriors and winning 2 rings with them?
He's not going to the team that just set the record for the most wins all time in the regular season.
That's true.
That is impossible for him to do.
That is impossible.
And I think I was watching the ESPYs last night. It was a replay, and they were talking about I think it was the UConn women's basketball team or something, and the joke was they've won so much that KD wants to join the team. And that just goes to show right there. Progressive G says, keep reading about Blake Griffin trying to sign with the Lakers.
Yeah, I've actually read that he just wants to go back to one of the LA teams. It could be a reunion with the Clippers or the Lakers.
Better fit for him.
Ooh, I don't know. That's tough. I'll probably say right now the Clippers, just because
they got more 3-point shooting.
They have more 3-point shooting, and they're also, as the way the roster breaks down today, currently at this point, this moment in time, 3:39 Hawaiian Standard Time, the Clippers have the better roster.
Yeah.
They have a better chance to win right now.
Shit's blowing up in Brooklyn.
It is blowing up.
I mean, KD wants out. Blake Griffin is leaving. Not that he was like their franchise player or anything, but he did a lot for that team. Mm-hmm. They lost all the young guys. D'Angelo Russell's gone. LeVert is gone. Is it basically Ben Simmons, Joe Harris, and Kyrie at this point? Or
yeah,
who do you expect to go into next season?
With the Nets?
Yeah, like, is Kyrie going to be there?
No.
So you think trade or buyout?
Him and Durant are both gone.
You see buyout.
I see trade.
Okay.
As the most likely option.
Interesting. Where do you think he'll get traded?
The Lakers.
Kyrie?
Yeah.
For Westbrook?
For Westbrook.
Okay. And not KD?
That one I'm not so sure about yet.
Okay. Well, if Kyrie ends up with the Lakers, that makes the Lakers roster better than the Clippers, right?
If Anthony Davis is healthy, yes.
Okay. So maybe Blake Griffin should go there. Ivan says Jalen Brunson got way overpaid by the stupid Knicks. Is it official? Are they stupid? Or did he sign a deal?
I don't think they're stupid.
Here we see it.
I think they're desperate.
Woj says 4 years, $104 million deal with the New York Knicks. That's pretty funny because I could have sworn the deal he had from the Mavericks
was 106 or something like that.
$106 million. But the deal includes a player option for the final season. So maybe that was the negotiation tactic was, we'll give you $2 million less, but the last year's a player option. So if you play well, you can opt out.
You can bump it up.
Or if you play like shit, you can opt in and we'll still pay you.
Yeah.
But Ivan says way overpaid. You think so?
Yeah, probably. But, in my opinion, there's only like maybe 5 to 8% of players in the entire league that aren't overpaid at this point. That's just where we've gotten to in, contract negotiations and money. I still go back to the fact that Jonathan Isaac signed an $80 million contract while rehabbing a torn Achilles, and we still haven't seen him play since then. So that's just the state of where things are. If you're valued in the NBA, you're going to make a lot of money, and probably more money than you might deserve, quote unquote.
Progressive G's got a really, really good question here. And also he mentions Nick Claxton. Can't forget about him. He's in Brooklyn.
He re-signed.
He's in Brooklyn.
He re-signed.
Not that that's going to make a difference, but is Brunson better than Kemba Walker?
Right now, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kemba Walker is a shell of his old self. He can't do any of the stuff that what we think of when we watch Kemba Walker play.
What about Kemba joining New York? versus now Kemba?
Oh, well,
Like, was the damage done in New
Kemba,
York?
when he was at his best, I would say is better than Jalen Brunson.
But was the damage done in New York, or was it done before?
I don't know. I think it's probably a slow, gradual thing. I mean,
Okay.
the guy is he. From everything I've heard, he's really done a number on his knees and his ankles, and he, for a guy that is so much of his game is creating space, getting difficult shots off that require a lot of stability, balance, strength in your joints and your legs. That if you lose that, you're going to be not nearly as effective as a player as you were. That's
Very true.
pretty obvious, I think.
And we all remember that step back.
Yeah.
So that definitely takes a lot of stress on your knees and ankles.
And for a guy that was never a dead eye 3-point shooter, like
yeah,
that's the difference between him and Derrick Rose, right?
Yep.
Derrick Rose was not an outside shooter,
Yep.
but he learned after he realized his body would not let him play the way that he had been accustomed to playing his whole life. He learned how to change up his game, and he became a reliable outside shooter. Kemba Walker has not gotten to that point yet. So
yeah. I mean, I remember he was shooting the ball exceptionally well. I think it was 1 or 2 seasons with Charlotte, but it wasn't consistent.
It wasn't consistent, and in the broad scope of how he's shot, over his entire career, even going back to his college days, he was never known as an outside shooter.
All right, let's work our way down the list here, Calvin. So, next up, the Wizards. They add DeLon Wright on a 2-year, $16 million deal. That's another player leaving the Hawks. The Wizards have now today re-signed Bradley Beal. They brought in DeLon Wright, and I think it was yesterday they made the trade for Will Barton and Monty Morris.
They also re-signed Anthony Gill, who was another backup guard for them last season.
Okay. Are they just going all in on guards here at this point?
It seems like it. They drafted Johnny Davis.
Yeah.
Will Barton, I think, has played the 3 in the past in the NBA, even though he's not the stereotypical or prototypical 3 body. But yeah, they got a ton of guards there all of a sudden.
Yeah. I mean, what does this mean for Bradley Beal? Because he just re-signed.
What it means is Bradley Beal is paid.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah,
I think
he's
that's
set.
the only thing he really cares about right now.
Okay. Well, we got a lot of stuff to discuss here, so I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. You tell me good deal, bad deal, and if you want to elaborate, go for it. Kyle Anderson agrees to a 2-year, $18 million deal to join the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I think it's a good deal. Look, Minnesota has now reached the stage of their best players are set. I think there's still a question mark as to what they do with D'Angelo Russell. His name has been floated around in trade talk for a while now, but they have their cornerstones, right, of the franchise. They know what they're building around. So now the question is finding the combination of young or veteran players that help fill out the rest of the roster. Kyle Anderson, I think has been a very, very admirable or serviceable pro backup, can start as well, play multiple positions, guard multiple positions, and has played for some pretty good teams in the past as well. So he knows what it's like to be a part of a winning team, winning culture. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I agree. Orlando Magic guard Gary Harris has agreed on a 2-year, $26 million contract extension.
Yeah, this one I'm not 100% sure on. I mean, Orlando is just in such a holding pattern, or like where do we go from here sort of thing. They're just beginning this rebuild. When you go back to last year, they've already got a ton of guards, but a lot of them are super, super young or haven't played very much in their careers, like Markelle Fultz. So, signing a reliable 2-way player like this, again, probably seems like a good move. It's just you have no idea what this team is going to look like right now.
Yeah, to me,
they also re-signed Mo Bamba.
Yeah, to me, this is basically an NBA 2K move. It's re-sign a guy that you have, trade him to a contender at the trade deadline or next offseason, salvage whatever value you can. Gary Harris is not the future of the Orlando Magic. They have a ton of young players that they are developing. And I have high hopes for Orlando, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So Gary Harris returning to the deal is a way for Orlando to extract value and add assets. That's what it is to me, bottom line. In other news, James Harden and the Sixers are meeting on the weekend to negotiate his new deal. Interesting news, no surprise there. Daryl Morey gets his man in James Harden, and Harden is waiting for the Sixers to add more talent. And then,
which they've already done.
Yeah, and then do his little loophole thing and re-sign afterwards.
Yep.
To create some more salary tax money for the NBA. We talked about Nick Claxton has agreed to a 2-year, $20 million deal to return to the Brooklyn Nets. Good deal or bad deal for Brooklyn?
Good deal, because they're losing options rapidly by the second, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they just have to, at this point, grab anybody that is willing to stay there.
What do you think is going to happen with Steve Nash? Because did you see the article where they were talking about, the Nets had issues with Kyrie Irving about his stance on the vaccine, but the main issues were the way that he was treating his teammates, coaching staff, and executives. And they mentioned a specific incident, I think it was in March or April, at Steve Nash's house, where Kyrie Irving, it was a team meeting, and Kyrie Irving says, "Show me Kobe's MVP awards." Is that a shot at Nash? Or kind of weird, right? Like, you have 2 titles but no rings. Like, what else is he trying to say here? Or sorry,
I
2
don't really get
MVPs
what that
but no
means.
rings. Kobe's only got 1, but he's one of the greatest players. I think that's kind of what he was getting at, was like, I don't have an MVP, but I have a ring, and I'm better than you, Steve Nash.
Well, that seems to have been Kyrie's attitude since the moment Nash was hired, right? You go back to that comment that him and Kevin Durant are coaches.
We're all
as
coaches.
well, right?
We could be a coach. I'm a coach.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a respect thing or if it's just a Kyrie thing.
He's the Oprah of coaches. You're a coach.
Yeah.
You're a coach.
I think Steve Nash has got to feel a little sigh of relief. I mean, he probably is not feeling the greatest, especially with the Kevin Durant news, because he knows the team is going to be a fraction of how good they were last year. But at the same time, the level of stress maybe is going to be a lot lower for him this season. I think that it's, now he's not under a microscope all the time, which is probably the better thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unfortunately the conundrum that you have as a head coach in professional sports. If you're really good, that means you've got to manage a bunch of these amazing egos, and the pressure is on all the time. And if your team is bad, then maybe you don't have as much pressure on you until it gets to the point where you've reached a stage of you lost too many games. Now we've got to let you go. So it's going to be very, very interesting. If he comes back and turns Ben Simmons into an all-star next year, then I think he's in a good position.
Yeah. I thought it's funny because, like, last offseason when they brought in Steve Nash, you and I were talking about the coach hire, and I said, this looks just like what the Nets did when they brought in Jason Kidd, right? Like, they traded for Paul Pierce. They traded for Kevin Garnett. They're like, we're all in. This is the year we're winning it all. We bring in a rookie head coach, a former player, Hall of Fame point guard in Jason Kidd. It all falls apart. Kidd is let go. Yeah. He moves on. Does a similar thing happen here with Nash, or do you see him coaching the team next season? Is he more likely to stay if they stay competitive, or is he more likely to stay if they're like, we're just hitting the reset button, and if Nash, if you want to stay around for a rebuild, we're happy to have you?
I think at this point he's likely to stay regardless of any situation. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, I think, if you're going to lose Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, to also get rid of Steve Nash and try to start over. First of all, who are you going to hire? Like, there aren't many other names out there. Mike D'Antoni still is available. If you get rid
of Kyrie and Katie, you are starting over.
Well, yes, you're starting over. Yes, you are. But I just don't, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to fire Nash on top of this already.
Do you think he'll want to be there?
I would give him an opportunity. Yeah, I think
you think he'll want to be there if they're not a contender?
I think he wants to be a coach.
Or maybe they like mutually part ways.
If you are a coach of any team,
yeah,
you are much more. You don't know when your next your job opportunity is going to come if you leave, right?
Mark Jackson.
So you would want to stay, I think, regardless of the situation.
Yep.
And I think this gives Steve Nash an opportunity to show people that he really can coach. A lot of people, like I'm seeing even here in the chat, are down on him as a coach, just like they were down on Jason Kidd as a coach, right? And that worked out for him eventually. In the long run. I wouldn't just dismiss Steve Nash as a head coach automatically right away based on what happened last season.
Yeah.
First of all, they didn't have their full team for the entire year. You never really got to see what they could have looked like at full strength.
They had a great record at one point.
They did. They were number one in the Eastern Conference at one point. And Kyrie Irving, coaching him must be the biggest nightmare imaginable in basketball. I really, really believe that. Like, having to deal with this guy on a daily basis must be absolutely infuriating as a coach, as somebody who tries to command order and respect and all this stuff and has to put people in line.
Yeah,
that's got to be such a frustrating thing.
Not a team player
at all. And I think that really had a huge impact on what the Nets looked like as a team as a whole. That's probably an understatement, right?
Oh, yeah, and I think the Nets agree with you.
Yeah, give this guy an opportunity next year without the egos, without the vaccine issue, without all the bullshit. Maybe, but just see what it's like.
Yeah. Well, the Nets are bringing back Patty Mills on a 2-year deal worth $14.5 million. So he will be there to help lead Coach Nash to some respectability, I guess. We mentioned Jalen Brunson, 5 years, $106 million or actually $104 million to join the Knicks, $106 million by the Mavericks, and he said, "No, thank you, Mark Cuban. I'm done playing with Luka Doncic." What is it, Trevlin Queen?
Yeah.
Free agent? I don't even know if I've heard of this person before. Joins the Philadelphia 76ers. That's it. The Sixers are going all in. They're signing everybody here. Who is this person?
I don't have much information on.
Did they play
honestly
in the league?
I think he was with somebody last year.
Okay, interesting. Nick Batum agrees to a 2-year deal to return to the LA Clippers. I don't see a price tag here, but I like it a lot for the Clippers. They've been focusing on 3-and-D guys.
He was a G League MVP, Trevlin Queen.
Interesting. Shows how much I watch the G League. But
10 games for Houston last year.
Okay. Makes sense. It all makes sense here, Calvin. But I like what the Clippers are doing here. They're adding more 3D guys. But the key to them that we've been talking about is they need to be healthy, right? They need Kawhi Leonard. They need Paul George to be back next season. I like the addition of John Wall. I like the fact that they're bringing back Nick Batum and some of these other guys like Robert Covington. Yep. Good deal for the Clippers, right?
They're looking good right now on paper.
Free agent Lou Dort has agreed to a 5-year, $87.5 million deal to stay with Oklahoma City after the Thunder decline his team option. I think Lou Dort probably sent a message to the front office. I don't want to play for this. If you want me to re-sign, let's do it right now. He's back for 5 more years. What does this deal mean for Lou, and what does it mean for OKC?
It's a building block deal for Lou Dort. If he continues to improve and play better, this is the gateway to an even bigger contract in the future, right? And then what does it mean for Oklahoma City? It means they retain one of their best overall players to help facilitate with all the young guys in the rebuilding process. So,
yeah. I love Lou Dort, man. Great move by them. I wish the Kings had a chance. And as soon as I saw them decline it, I'm like, maybe. But I knew there was more in the works because a team like the Thunder doesn't just make stupid mistakes like that. So Lou Dort returns to them, and bright young future for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chris Bobby Boucher is returning to the Toronto Raptors on a 3-year, $35.25 million deal. Chris Boucher has been great at times. He's disappeared at times. We've seen him block a lot of shots.
Hit a lot of threes.
What does this mean for Toronto?
I think, again, a lot of once free agency starts, you're either a team that has an opportunity or an ability to go after the highest coveted players, or you're a team in the middle or on the bottom to where you have to bottom feed, or not necessarily bottom feed. That makes it sound really, really bad. But you've got to...
Tell me how you really feel, Cal.
You're stuck. You have to fill out the rest of your roster, and you don't have that many options. So a lot of these teams look to the guys that they already had, right? Because you have familiarity with them. Generally speaking, they have a good relationship with the organization and are more inclined to want to return if you're going to give them a long-term deal or a multi-year deal, something like that. So that's what this feels like to me.
Is this like a poor man's, what's the dude, Miles Turner?
I wouldn't go that far.
No?
I don't. Yeah. Boucher's not nearly as big as Turner is. Not as good of a shot blocker. I think Chris Boucher is a nice role player. Like he can come in and as you said, he gets hot every once in a while, hits a bunch of threes, but he's not an everyday starter in my opinion. Okay.
Progressive G says the Nets started the season with KD, Kyrie, and Harden. Isn't that a trip to think about?
It's probably the biggest failure as a team in NBA history.
It reminds me of the Thunder, right? They had KD.
Yeah, they did.
They had Westbrook and they had Harden. They lost them all. Didn't win a title. That's crazy, man. Kevin Durant, poor Kevin Durant, man. That guy's
poor Nets fans
not having good luck here. Damian Jones has agreed to a 2-year deal with the LA Lakers, returning to the Lakers after previously playing with them and being released. I think it's a good deal for the Lakers.
I think the Lakers have made a lot of good deals today.
It's like what you said, right? They are going younger.
Yeah.
That's the goal here.
Yep.
He's definitely younger. He'd probably be the youngest player on last year's roster if you didn't include like Austin Reeves or somebody.
Horton Tucker, I think.
Or THT, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Amir Coffey has agreed to a 3-year, $11 million deal with the Clippers. Big deal here or no?
Yeah, I mean, like we just talked about with the Clippers, I think they're making the right decisions, the right moves. They're setting themselves up here to, if they're healthy, fully healthy, they could make a really good run here. They could make a run at the whole thing.
Yeah, the Clippers were one of those teams, right, when we talked about them, we're like, they don't really have a lot of options here. They've been able to add a few guys and retain guys. I love what they've done so far.
Yeah, it helps when one team is willing to buy somebody out for $40 million so that you can sign them with the mid-level exception. That's a huge help.
Helps a lot. Free agent Tyus Jones is returning to the Memphis Grizzlies on a 2-year, $30 million deal. Wow, that's a lot of money for Tyus Jones. $15 million a year to come off the bench, huh?
Yeah, well, think about it. Ja Morant missed how many games for them in the regular season last year? 25 or something like that. And they were really, really good without him.
Yep.
Having a legit backup point guard is a good part to that, or a big piece of that. So
yeah, as amazing as he has been, he's had a ton of knee injuries. So having a backup point guard definitely suits them. And on that subject, we might as well talk about Jaren Jackson Jr. Just had surgery, will be out 4 to 6 weeks. I think it was a stress fracture in the foot. Expected to make a full recovery, but this is another offseason and another injury for Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah.
A dude that I've absolutely loved, and they re-signed him, but troubling for them?
Well, sure, it's troubling, to see injuries pile up to one of your franchise players, one of your leaders on the team, but expected to make a full recovery, still super young. Yep. I don't think you're anywhere near hitting the panic button yet.
So he could be back by January, worst case.
4 to 6 weeks?
I think it said January? 4 to 6 months.
Oh, months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So January. Interesting. Free agent Daniel House has agreed to a 2-year, $8.5 million deal with the Sixers. James Harden is bringing the band back together. This time in Philadelphia, we saw P.J. Tucker signed with them. Now it's Daniel House. This is the guy that famously got kicked out of the bubble for bringing a testing agent into his room. But he's back. He's here with the Sixers. What do you think about this deal?
Well, Philadelphia is still, rumored to be shopping Tobias Harris, potentially moving him. So it seems like you're going to have to, if you do end up doing that, you're going to have to grab some more wings or a wing to fill out the roster. And like you said, he's got the connection with James Harden and Daryl Morey previously. So makes sense in those regards.
Yeah, definitely. Good move for the Sixers. They are continuing to add talent, and it helps a lot when you're second best player, I guess, and James Harden is willing to wait and say, sign all these other guys, and then I'll re-sign, and we'll work out a deal. It'll work out. Bobby Portis is returning to the Milwaukee Bucks on a 4-year, $49 million contract. We heard rumors that he could potentially join the Golden State Warriors this morning. Ends up re-signing with the Bucks. He was instrumental in their short playoff run this season. I love what I've seen out of Bobby Portis this season. I think this is a great deal for Bobby and for the Bucks. What are your thoughts?
This is huge for Milwaukee. This deal alone helps keep them, to me, in title contention for next year. I love it for Milwaukee. Yeah,
I agree. I think it helps them a lot, and I think it takes some stress off of Brook Lopez and what's going on with him. He's been dealing with injuries as well. So Bobby Portis, congratulations. You finally got your long deal, and it's with a title contender in the Bucks. So huge deal for them. The Portland Trail Blazers have officially re-signed Anthony Simons to a 4-year, $100 million contract extension. Interesting move here, Calvin. We thought that Anthony Simons could potentially be on his way out due to Damian Lillard wanting to play with win-now players. Maybe he'd be included in a trade for a Bradley Beal or somebody like that. Seems like since all those big names are coming off the board and we're seeing guys like Zach LaVine being said that they're going to return to their team, Portland signs a deal with Anthony Simons. What does this mean for Portland? What does this mean for Damian Lillard?
Well, I personally was never really in the camp that believed Anthony Simons was going anywhere. I think after the year that he had, Portland does want to, the goal is win now, right, with Damian Lillard. You went out, you got Jeremy Grant. But I think that Portland is also trying to maybe mirror or try to simulate what the Golden State Warriors have done a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. They want to be good now, but they also want to be good 5-10 years from now, potentially. Yep. So they've got a guy in Anthony Simons who could be one of those elite level guards in the league in the next 5 to 10 years if he continues to get better and better. So this seems like a good move to me. And it makes sense too, especially when you're going to draft Shaedon Sharpe with the 7th overall pick. Mm-hmm. They're on the same timeline. They have kind of the same feel to them, guys that have a huge amount of potential. If Sharpe turns out to be one of the better players in this draft, you've got 2 really solid running mates there that could be with this team again for, another decade.
Does this mean Lillard might be on the way out?
Who knows? I would find that very unlikely, especially after going after Jeremy Grant. Mm-hmm. That feels like a move that you're saying to Damian Lillard where maybe we haven't done enough or as much as we want to now, but we're working on it, and maybe by the trade deadline another big name becomes available and they go out and they grab him for a second half run,
Okay. We will see what happens in Portland, but good news for them. They're bringing back a very important piece in Anthony Simons. Can't let a guy like that leave, especially for absolutely nothing. So good deal for them. All-star guard Bradley Beal has signed a 5-year, $251 million max contract to stay with the Washington Wizards. This is one of the biggest contracts we've ever seen, if not the biggest. I don't think I've seen a bigger contract than this. Maybe the 278 or something, I think by Giannis. But huge deal for Bradley Beal. And like we said, the man did what he said he was going to do.
He sure did.
He is back with the Washington Wizards. No stress for him. Not worried about championships. He's just getting paid and enjoying his life in Washington.
Yeah.
Wow.
He must really like it there.
Yeah, right. He must really like it a lot, huh? All right, so Kevin Durant has made an official trade request to the owner of the Nets. The Nets are acquiring Jazz's Royce O'Neal in a trade for a 2023 first-round pick. And then I think I saw a deal surrounding, who was it? Joe Ingles? Is he going to the Nets as well?
Milwaukee.
Oh, the Bucks.
Signing.
Yes.
There. I forget what the details of the contract are.
I think it was a one-year deal. His wife broke the news.
His wife did break the news on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, it looks like things are starting to slow down here. I don't see Woj tweeting much. Maybe he is finally asleep or exhausted or passed out. I don't really know, but that is a tough list to go over. A lot of stuff to pay attention to, especially if you're a guy like Woj.
A lot of stuff we didn't even talk about.
Your phone is probably blowing up all day long. Mike says JaVale McGee to the Mavs.
Another great deal. Love it.
Great deal.
Love
deal. There's your rim protector, Mike. There's your rim protector and your Shaqtin' a Fool superstar. Any other deals you want to discuss?
Well, Mike is, like he says, a little late to the show. He apparently missed Royal Rebounds show also.
Oh, okay.
Wants to talk about Malik Monk.
Okay, let's do it. I love it. I absolutely love the deal. Malik Monk, huge addition to the Sacramento Kings. Cheaper than Victor Oladipo, and has chemistry with De'Aaron Fox. I've been wanting this guy for 5 years since the NBA draft. Actually, before that, when I was watching them in the tournament. So huge move. And Mike, it's okay. We all have to work. You don't have to be sorry about that.
Sorry, Mike. That was a dig at you, but I was just kidding. I love you.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Monk?
I agree 100% with Ivan here.
Okay.
It does. I'm happy that they went out and signed a guy like Malik Monk, but it does not change my opinion of how good the Kings are going to be next year alone. I would be over the moon ecstatic if the Kings had already picked up John Collins in a trade and now they signed Malik Monk.
Yeah.
But signing Malik Monk and losing DiVincenzo and Damian Jones is a net loss so far for me. There's still time for them to add more players, but I think that there's a lot of work still to be done here.
Yeah, I mean, Ivan, comparing the players overall, it's tough to say. I think we all agree that Monk is a better offensive player than Dante. For me, I just look at it in terms of like starters. Like Kings need a starting two guard. Was Dante DiVincenzo a starting two guard? I'd say he's maybe a fringe starter.
I think Malik Monk's not too far above that.
I think Monk's a starter.
But a fringe, like you got to say Malik Monk is in the lower half of starting shooting guards overall in the NBA.
Yeah, but he's still a starter. And I think Dante is...
I think Dante DiVincenzo is in that same group.
I think he's on the fringe. And Dante still could re-sign with Sacramento. It's still a possibility.
That's true. But does that make sense now? You've already got Terrence Davis. You've got Davion Mitchell. Now you're signing Malik Monk. How many minutes are available for all those guys if you re-sign DiVincenzo as well?
Ivan, Dante was a starter in the regular season on a championship team. They won the championship without him because he was out due to injury. So I guess that right there shows how really important he was on that championship team, right? Like they won the championship without him.
Yeah. Yeah, they might not have been in that. He started 66 games for them that year.
No shade. I love it. You've been
him.
listening to me all season. I like Dante DiVincenzo a lot. I really do. And I would love to have him back to the Kings. But I think Malik Monk is an upgrade. I really do. What's up, Gothan? Good to see you here. Oh, we got to hear from Gothan. Gothan, who's better, Malik Monk or Dante DiVincenzo? I got to hear it. And Dante. Shut up, Mike. It is interesting times, and I'm calling it. John Collins is going to be the next guy coming to Sacramento.
I sure hope so, because otherwise it looks like the Kings are basically running it back with the addition of Keegan Murray and Malik Monk, and I don't think that team is that much better than the team we had last year.
Yeah, I agree. maybe not much better than the team we had in the second half of last season.
Yes.
But I think we're going to get
winning
some chemistry.
percentage-wise, they were almost identical, the team in the first half and the second half.
But talent-wise, much more talent.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get some chemistry here. And that's another thing that I want to just throw in that I said earlier, and I've been saying over and over again, is just the fact that, like, Fox and Monk have played together.
Yeah, and that's, to me, that's the biggest positive about signing Malik Monk. It's the impact it's going to have on De'Aaron Fox.
Exactly.
We talked about it a little bit on row rebounds just a little while ago, but all the moves that the Kings are making right now are to benefit or to strengthen De'Aaron Fox's love and appreciation for being the man in Sacramento, right?
Yep.
As opposed to the moves they made the previous 2 years before that, drafting 2 more point guards, guys that maybe didn't complement De'Aaron Fox in the best possible way. They're doing the exact opposite of that now. And if you get De'Aaron Fox excited about playing in Sacramento, even more so, more committed to being the franchise player, so he comes out and he starts the season the way he finished the season last year, that's a very positive thing for the Kings.
Yep. Ivan, you know Malik Monk is better than Buddy Hield. Come on. You know it's true. And the dude is making half of the money as Buddy Hield. So I will be half as disappointed and half crying.
Ivan, I'm with you, man. I'm in the same boat as you. I agree completely. It's good. It is a good thing for the Kings to sign Malik Monk, but I am not going to get too overexcited about it at this point.
We'll see what Mike Brown can do to help patch this defense together, and who knows, maybe he can bring in a couple more guys to help secure that for sure. Then losing a good shot blocker, defensive presence in Damian Jones.
Yeah, that one really hurts to me.
I was bummed on that too, but Damian Jones didn't play a lot. He didn't get a ton of playing time.
He didn't, but I think he showed enough to deserve. I think he's going to go to LA and have a really, really strong season for them.
I could see that.
He may end up starting a bunch of games for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see that. And, back to your point, Ivan, when Monk gets blown by 2 guys, we're going to be crying. When he makes a 3, we're going to be happy. And when we're watching DiVincenzo bricking 3s on another team, we're all going to be happy as well. So you could kind of go with that however you want. But as Gothan said, I do like Dante DiVincenzo's intensity. I loved the way he would chase after people on defense. I loved his rebounding ability. And I honestly hope that he does return because, we talked about it a week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, where I said I love DiVincenzo, but the reason I was reluctant to move him to the starting lineup was because I loved how he played with Davion Mitchell. So if you are able to convince him to return and say, hey, we traded for you twice, we want you to be on the roster, we'll pay you a little bit more to come off the bench, I think that would be a win-win for both the Kings and for Dante DiVincenzo. But as of right now, he's a free agent.
Good luck trying to convince Dante DiVincenzo to sign that contract.
Yeah.
After you try to trade for the guy twice, then you don't show faith in having him be a starter, even though he wants a bigger role with the team.
Yeah.
Then you just flat out don't even offer him a qualifying offer whatsoever and say you're on your own. You can sign with whoever you want. What is his incentive to re-sign with the Kings at this point?
More money? I don't know.
There's a guarantee that he could get the same, if not more, money from another team somewhere else, I think.
We will see. And, the intensity that you guys like, maybe that intensity is focused on the Kings front office right now. And that could be why Dante DiVincenzo is not re-signing with the Kings. But we will see what happens ultimately. Any other deals, Calvin? We haven't heard anything about DeAndre Ayton yet.
We have not heard anything about DeAndre Ayton yet.
Also, Jokic resigns.
Oh, yeah.
I think, let me figure out the numbers real quick here.
Everybody saw that coming. That's not Mike, I think the Mavs have had one of the best, if not the best, offseason. I said, was it just yesterday? Detroit and Dallas, both the big Ds, both of them are having, in my opinion, the 2 best off seasons right now.
Jokic agrees to A 5-year, $264 million contract. It is officially the richest contract in NBA history.
Congratulations to him.
Wild.
Much deserved.
Wild. And this is a dude that, if you looked at him, other than his height, you'd be like, he's probably not a basketball player.
Yeah.
Wow. Hard work pays off, man. It really does.
One thing we haven't talked about at all, and it's not a deal, but it could potentially ruin a deal for a guy who was very high or had a very good season last year and bet a lot on himself. Miles Bridges is in a little bit of trouble right now, getting arrested for a domestic violence dispute.
Oh, man.
The day before free agency.
Bad timing.
Everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but man, you are an idiot to put yourself in that situation, whether or not what happened is true. The guy definitely hurt himself big time.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
What do you think is going to happen with that? Is he not signing with the team?
Well, at this point, he's got to worry about, it's a felony charge. He's got to worry about going to jail first and foremost.
Wow. You think any team takes a waiver on him?
Not right now. Why would you?
Or nobody, they just all back off and wait?
I think that's definitely what's going to happen here. Yeah.
Interesting. Wait till Doncic demands $60 million a year. It's going to happen. It might even be more than that. You know, I was watching NBA TV today, and they were talking about how the way things are going, players are going to be making $100 million a year here in the next 10 years or so.
Just incredible.
So that's crazy. Could you imagine signing $1 billion deal for half of your NBA career?
No, I couldn't.
That's absolutely crazy. All right, guys, we are going to open it up here to Q&A. So if you guys have questions, we got answers. Go ahead and drop all your questions here in the chat. We're happy to answer them. And then we will also be live again tomorrow, breaking down anything else that happens. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell so you are notified every time we put out a new video. Which team would be scarier to see KD play on next season, the Mavs or the Grizzlies? That's a tough question.
I honestly, I think you're kind of splitting hairs there. I really do. Like either one of those teams with Durant, they're already close to being ready to compete for a title, if not already there at this point now, right? You add Kevin Durant onto either one of those teams, you got to think that they're right there. Like they're a championship level team. I think the real question is, what do each one of those teams have to give up to get him?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I have to say the Grizzlies probably have more to give up.
They definitely
to
do.
Get him. So, but yeah, I do like what the Mavs are doing this offseason. We didn't even talk about it because Mike wasn't here when we were talking about them bringing in Christian Wood. You want to give some thoughts on that real quick?
I think we did talk about that a little bit on another show when he was on, but it's a great move. As I said before, when it happened, when the deal went through, I think there was arguably this is the perfect player for them to get because the question with Doncic and the Mavericks has been, do you bring in another superstar like a Batman and Robin or the beginnings of a super team deal, or do you go contrary to popular belief in how to build an NBA team and just surround him with the right type of player? And Christian Wood somehow falls into like both those categories at the same time, it feels like to me. He's not a legit superstar, perennial all-star, but he has that type of talent.
He's a healthy Porzingis.
He fits exactly into the scheme, the style of play that Dallas wants to run. So it's a home run deal for me.
And they didn't give up like very much to get him at all. Yeah. So huge deal for the Dallas Mavericks. But one thing that we did discuss, which I asked you, I said, does this mean they're going to do better next season than they did this season? And you had a hard time answering that question because they made it so far.
They did, yeah. I mean, it's hard to get back to that spot, the Western Conference Finals or on the doorstep of the NBA Finals every year, no matter how good you are, right?
Yeah.
So I think that the odds are in their favor. because they have overall a young team, and they've got a legit superstar who, is already probably one of the 10 best players in the league, arguably.
Maybe
so,
five. Maybe five.
Maybe even.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this team has all the chance in the world to get back to the same spot next year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Would you throw out a winner today so far?
Ooh, that's tough. A
lot of moves to take on here.
A lot of moves that also didn't really change. Like I mentioned, or we talked about, a lot of guys have just re-signed with the teams that they played with last year. So we didn't really see maybe a whole lot of inter-team movement as we might have expected day one. I think Philadelphia's got to feel really good about themselves getting a guy like PJ Tucker, even though he's older. I think he complements that team really well. And I don't want to overstate what the Lakers did, but I really do like the moves that the Lakers made for the position that they're in, with the still potential of getting either Kyrie or KD or possibly even both.
Yeah.
They clearly were after younger players. I like the guys that they signed. I think Damian Jones was a great acquisition for them. So I like what the Lakers did, given the spot and the little amount of wiggle room that they had here. And then, I think Dallas, you got to put up at the top as well.
Any losers?
The Nets.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to be the biggest losers right now at this point,
For me, it's Charlotte. And it's because of the Miles Bridges situation, and I didn't really see them do much today.
Yeah, they really didn't. They didn't make a lot of moves in general. But they still have a bunch of guys on their roster who are making a decent amount of money. It's not like they had a ton of cap room to spend. And I think a lot of people are going to say the Knicks are losers is a hard word to say as of right now, right? But I think, like we saw in the chat here earlier, a lot of people probably are thinking that Jalen Brunson is overpaid and maybe not the savior of the franchise, doesn't really make the team that much better one way or another, especially for how much money they're spending on him. It seems like a desperate sort of move for the Knicks, who have lost out on every big free agent for the past however long.
Yep. Jay Drew's got a good point here. Summer League is starting on Saturday. The Kings are playing the Warriors. I looked at that roster for Sacramento, and the Kings seemed pretty confident. They said, we're going to win another Summer League title. I did not feel the same confidence. But then again, I don't pay attention to a lot of those other names that I see on the roster. I saw, was it Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray, the only two guys that I really recognize. But make sure you guys stay tuned for that, because Summer League is right around the corner.
Yeah, literally.
Basketball is back. Ivan says Charlotte is still reeling after the Kenny Atkinson debacle. LOL, having to rehire Steve Clifford because nobody else would take the job.
Very good point.
Great point. And that's, kind of exactly what I was getting to. It's tough to be the Charlotte Hornets. I'm surprised they didn't offer that job to LeVar Ball, right? He would have taken it.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have taken it.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap up the show here. Thank you so much for joining us. Please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget, we are giving away a $250 Fanatics gift card. To enter to win that, if you haven't already, is go to Basketball at the Bar. Go to our homepage, and the video is linked there right at the top. Follow the instructions and post down below in that video. So thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. Any last thoughts, Calvin?
We're going to have probably just as much to talk about tomorrow, if not more, than we had to talk about today. So buckle your seatbelts. The weekend has just begun.
Yes. Yes. A ton of stuff happening. KD to the Kings. Maybe it's possible. We will see. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you all tomorrow. And don't forget to tip your bartender.